portion both last week and this week is jarring, it's poignant, and it really challenges us to think about a common theme. Last week, we read about the Meraglim, we read about the 12 spies who were charged with the responsibility to check out the land, and most of them came back with negative, fearful reports, except for two, Caleb and Joshua. And this, as we know, had severe consequences for Bnei Israel. And this week, we read the story of Korach, the Levite, who together with his followers endeavored to create a rebellion and challenge the leadership of Moses and Aaron. And as the story unfolds, Korach and his band meet a violent and tragic end as they are swallowed up by what we would call today an earthquake, according to the texts, and the leadership of Moshe remains intact. This challenged me to study a little about the essence of leadership and conflict, and what does that truly mean? And how does it apply to the world that we live in today? If you Google the word leadership, you will find over 58 million posts about it. 58 million. So obviously it's a subject that is discussed a great deal. So who and what is a good leader? Anyone who spends time as a leader learns something quickly. Leadership involves conflict. The most effective leaders know that at times they will have to confront those who would contend with them. Conflicts arise when the concerns of differing people appear to be completely incompatible. And the real test of leadership is how one addresses the conflicts when they arise. In this week's Torah portion, Korach, Datan, and Abiram rise up against Moses, Aaron, and Hashem. This rebellion is the most serious example of Israelites challenging God's chosen leadership. Throughout the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, all of the rebellions, including this one, they fail. In the end, Moses' role as leader is affirmed, and those who would contend with Moshe, Aaron, and God, as we know, pay the ultimate price. The language that is used to describe the rebellion is significant. I invite you to open your Chumashim and turn to page 639. 639. In this text, verses 2 and 3, let's read it. Verse 2.
ויקומו לפני משה ואנשים מבני ישראל 50 ו200 נשיאי עדה קריאי מועד אנשי שם ויקהלו על משה ועל אהרון ויאמרו עליהם רב לכם כי כל העדה כולם קדושים ובטוחם אדוני ומדוע תתנסו על קהל אדוני.
We read the rebels rose up against Moses, vayakumu, and combined against him, vayikalu. The first verb suggests a certain completeness to their challenge, as in Moses setting up vayakem, same verb of the Mishkan, back in Exodus 40. But the second verb makes it sound as if they were establishing their own parallel community to oppose Moses. And suddenly, you have a risk of a split between the two. As the Torah portion unfolds, Korach describes his contention with the leadership. What does he say? You have gone too far, for all the community are holy, all of them, and the Eternal is in their midst. Why do you raise yourself above the Eternal's congregation? Which is the third verse. And Moshe gives Korach the opportunity to make his case and to test their authority before the entire community. And famously, the rebels and their families pay the ultimate price as the earth opens up, swallowing them whole and taking them down to what is known in the text as Sheol. We would know it by a different word today. It begins with H. This text, if you think about it, it's meant to disturb. It's disturbing. It's very uncomfortable. It is extreme to emphasize a point. Conflict is an element of leadership. As the ultimate example of rebellion among the Israelites, the core question is this: how are we to deal with conflict, not if it arises? One answer comes from a prior experience among Moses, Miriam, and Aaron. 2 weeks ago, when we read at the end of Parshat Bahalotcha, Moses' siblings speak out against Moses because he married a Cushite woman. But then their real contention emerges, one not dissimilar from Korach's. Has the Eternal spoken only through Moses? Has God not spoken through us as well? You'll find the text on 6:18, verse 2, chapter 12, and yet their verb in the text is less aggressive. They speak against Moses, to daber. God hears this, calls the three siblings to appear at the entrance of the tent of meeting, makes the case why Moses has special status among them, and then what happens? Miriam is afflicted with a horrible skin disease. A really horrible skin disease. And Moses' reaction is not one of anger. If you look at his text, verse 13, chapter 12, he calls out, "Please God, heal her." When we love those with whom we contend, we can respond to conflict with care and with compassion. Similarly, the importance of bringing your whole self to a contentious moment is one of the key lessons taught by experienced leaders and teachers. The suggestion is that conflict is resolved through a conversation that may be difficult, it may be political, and it may be strategic. And the goal of a leader who wants to solve one of these difficult conversations is to approach the other with curiosity, with courage, with care, and to be ready to make their own contributions to the solution. Towards the end of Bamidbar, if you turn to page 691, the very first verse of chapter 27, 691, this is what the text says.
ותקרא בנה בנות צלפחד, בן חיפר, בן גלעד, בן מכיר, בן מנשה, למשפחות מנשה בן יוסף ואלה שמות בנותיו מחלה נועה ועגלה ומילכה וצרתה.
And it goes on. V'ta'amodna. And what does this mean? It's the story of Tzilfachad's daughters and about their inheritance. And the verbs that are used in the text are different from Korach's. The 5 women, they come forward and they stand before Moses, Ta'amodna, and they bring their whole selves to the dispute. In response, perhaps, Moses is able to bring his whole self. For those leaders who seek justice from a spiritual and a political frame, this context can be illustrative. We find ourselves on different sides of contentious moments. We take position or positions in opposition to others. Sometimes we stand in Moses' place, and other times we may be the rebellious ones. But either way, this week's Torah portion is a true object lesson in conflict. It's a reminder that it will come whenever we take on leadership, striving for particular goals. The real spiritual test lies in how we as leaders believe and behave around the contention. Shabbat Shalom.